This is General Marcus Williams, Supreme Commander of Earth Defense Forces. What I am about to share is the complete record of the 12-day war, the largest ground engagement in human history, and the last time any species attempted to invade our homeworld. 3 million enemy soldiers landed on Earth. None of them left. This is case file 444. This is how humanity turned our planet into a trap. The Keth'vari Dominion had conquered 40 worlds using portal technology. They could open dimensional gates anywhere, deploy armies instantly, bypass all traditional defenses. Ships and orbital stations meant nothing when enemies could appear in your capital city without warning. Their record was perfect. 40 invasions, 40 victories. Average conquest time, 72 hours. When they decided to take Earth, they committed everything. Their entire military gathered for the final subjugation of humanity. 3 million soldiers, heavy armor, artillery, air support. The most powerful invasion force ever assembled. They planned to end us in 48 hours. They did not know we were waiting. 6 months before D-Day, human intelligence captured a Keth'vari scout ship. Under interrogation, its crew revealed the invasion plan. 12 simultaneous portal insertions. Major population centers targeted. Overwhelming force designed to crush resistance before it could organize. Command faced a choice. We could try to prevent the invasion, destroy the portal generators, assassinate key leaders, disrupt their plans. But the Keth'vari were too powerful, too numerous. Prevention would likely fail, and then we would face the invasion without any preparation. Or we could let them come. Let them commit their entire army to Earth. Let them step through the portals into what they believed was an unprepared world. And then close the door behind them. Dr. Sarah Chen led the team studying captured portal technology. After 4 months of work, she gave us an option. We could generate a pulse that would collapse active portals permanently. One use only. Enough power to close 11 of the 12 gates. 11, not 12. We had to leave one portal open. The Keth'vari would detect total closure and abort the invasion. We needed them to commit fully. One portal would remain as their escape route. A portal we could close manually once their entire force was through. The plan was insane. We were deliberately allowing 3 million enemy soldiers onto our homeworld. But it was also perfect. On Earth, the Keth'vari would have no ships, no orbital support, no supply lines, no reinforcements, just 3 million soldiers against 8 billion humans on our home ground. Ground we had been preparing for 6 months. D-Day was June 15th, 2392. The portals opened at 0600 hours local time across all 12 zones. Massive dimensional rifts, 2 kilometers wide, tearing open the sky above Moscow, Beijing, New York, London, Tokyo, Delhi, Cairo, Sydney, Berlin, Paris, São Paulo, and Johannesburg. Keth'vari forces poured through like a flood. 250,000 soldiers per portal. Heavy armor rolling through dimensional gates. Artillery pieces appearing on city streets. Aircraft streaming from the rifts like angry hornets. From the Keth'vari perspective, everything was going perfectly. Their commanders saw empty streets, abandoned buildings, cities that appeared to have been evacuated in panic. They interpreted this as proof of human fear, civilians fleeing before the unstoppable might of the Dominion. They were half right. The cities were evacuated, but not in panic, in preparation. For 6 months, we had quietly moved non-combatants out of the target cities. We told them it was infrastructure upgrades, environmental concerns, economic relocation programs. 17 million people moved without the Keth'vari noticing. What we left behind was not empty. Every building was a fortress. Every street was a kill zone. Every intersection was pre-registered for artillery. Every subway tunnel was filled with soldiers waiting for the signal. We had turned 12 cities into death traps. By 0700, the Keth'vari had deployed their full force. 3 million soldiers spreading through 12 cities, establishing command posts and defensive positions. They reported complete success to their homeworld. Earth was falling. Humanity was broken. Victory was assured. At 0715, I gave the order. Close the portals. Dr. Chen's pulse activated simultaneously across the planet. 11 portals collapsed instantly, dimensional rifts tearing themselves apart in explosions of exotic energy. Keth'vari soldiers and vehicles caught mid-transit were simply erased from existence. The 12th portal, in Tokyo, remained open for exactly 37 more seconds. Just long enough for the Keth'vari to realize what was happening. Just long enough for their commanders to scream for retreat. Then we closed it too. 3 million Keth'vari soldiers, trapped on Earth. No escape, no rescue, no hope. The hunting began. Day 1. Hour 0 plus 30 minutes. The Keth'vari commanders were still processing what had happened when the first attacks began. In Moscow, 17,000 Russian soldiers emerged from the metro system beneath the alien command post. The Keth'vari had established their headquarters in Red Square, believing the open space would give them tactical advantage. They had not checked below ground. The Russians hit them from 12 tunnel exits simultaneously. Close-quarters combat in terrain the Keth'vari had not prepared for. By the time their reinforcements arrived, the command post was destroyed and 11,000 alien soldiers were dead. In Beijing, the Chinese had prepared something different. The Keth'vari had concentrated in the financial district, tall buildings they could fortify, open avenues for their armor. Perfect defensive position. Or it would have been if the buildings had been actual buildings. 6 of the towers were hollow shells, filled with explosives. When the Keth'vari occupation force was fully deployed, the Chinese detonated all 6 simultaneously. 47,000 aliens, gone in an instant. Every city had its own surprise. In New York, we had flooded the subway system with nerve gas. When Keth'vari soldiers tried to use the tunnels for movement, they died by the thousands. In London, the Thames had been rigged with directional explosives. When the aliens tried to cross, we dropped them into the river and collapsed the embankments on top of them. In Cairo, we had buried fuel-air explosives beneath the streets. Entire city blocks became fireballs. In São Paulo, we had hidden 50,000 soldiers in the favelas. Terrain the Keth'vari could not navigate, filled with humans who knew every alley, every rooftop, every shadow. By the end of day 1, the Keth'vari had lost 400,000 soldiers. They still had 2.6 million remaining, but they were beginning to understand their situation. Days 2 through 4 were adaptation and counter-adaptation. The Keth'vari commanders were not fools. They recognized they were trapped. They recognized that the cities were death traps. They tried to consolidate, to establish defensive perimeters, to prepare for a siege until rescue could come. Rescue was not coming. We had made sure of that. The Keth'vari homeworld was 17,000 light-years away. Without portals, any relief force would take months to arrive. The invasion force had supplies for 2 weeks of combat operations. 2 weeks! That was all they had. We did not intend to give them 2 weeks. Human forces applied constant pressure. Not direct assaults. We did not need to waste lives on frontal attacks. Instead, we harassed, we ambushed, we cut supply lines and assassinated officers and made sleep impossible. The Keth'vari could not rest, could not eat, could not think. Every time they established a position, artillery would find them. Every time they moved, snipers would pick off their officers. Every time they thought they were safe, another attack would come from an unexpected direction. By day 4, they had lost another 600,000 soldiers. They controlled shrinking pockets in each city, surrounded by hostile territory filled with 8 billion enemies. Days 5 through 8 were the breakdown. Keth'vari discipline began to crack. Soldiers who had never known defeat were experiencing constant, grinding failure. Officers who had commanded conquests were watching their forces disintegrate. Some units tried to break out of the cities, to find defensible ground in the countryside. They found no sanctuary. Every road was mined. Every bridge was wired to explode. Every village had a militia waiting with weapons provided by the global defense network. Humanity had been preparing for this for 6 months. Every adult who wanted a weapon had received one. Every neighborhood had organized its defense. Every citizen had been trained in the basics of guerrilla warfare. The Keth'vari were not facing an army. They were facing a planet. By day 8, their force had been reduced to 1.2 million soldiers. Half their invasion force, dead in 8 days. The survivors were exhausted, starving, running low on ammunition. Their commanders had mostly been killed. Their chain of command had fragmented. Individual units were making independent decisions, most of them bad. Days 9 through 11 were the final hunt. What remained of the Keth'vari force had abandoned any hope of conquest. They were simply trying to survive. Some attempted to surrender. We did not accept surrender. This was deliberate, calculated, a strategic decision made at the highest levels. 3 million soldiers had invaded our homeworld. They had planned to kill or enslave 8 billion humans. They had come to take everything we had built across 10,000 years of civilization. We could not permit any of them to return home. We could not allow the Keth'vari to retain any capability to try again. We needed to send a message so clear, so brutal, so absolute, that no species would ever consider invading Earth again. The message was simple. If you come to our world, you die here. Every single one. Human forces methodically swept through the cities, clearing building by building, block by block. Where Keth'vari soldiers fought, they died fighting. Where they hid, they were found and killed. Where they ran, they were hunted and killed. No mercy, no quarter, no exceptions. Day 12 was the end. The last significant Keth'vari formation, approximately 8,000 soldiers who had fortified a hospital complex in Berlin, was eliminated at 1400 hours. We offered them one chance to release any human hostages they might have taken. They had none. The hospital had been evacuated months ago. We brought up the artillery and leveled the complex. By 1800 hours, organized resistance had ended. Scattered survivors remained, individuals hiding in rubble, wounded soldiers waiting to die. But the invasion was over. Final accounting. Keth'vari forces committed 3 million soldiers. Keth'vari forces killed 2,987,412. Keth'vari forces captured? None. Keth'vari forces escaped? None. Human military casualties? 417,000 killed, 693,000 wounded. Human civilian casualties, 12,000 killed, mostly from the initial portal insertions before traps could be sprung. Exchange ratio, approximately 7-to-1, 3 million soldiers, 12 days. Total annihilation. The aftermath of the 12-day war reshaped galactic politics permanently. The Keth'vari Dominion did not survive the loss of their military. Their entire armed forces, every soldier, every vehicle, every piece of equipment, had been committed to the Earth invasion. When none of them returned, the Dominion collapsed into civil war. Within a year, they had fragmented into 17 successor states, none capable of threatening anyone. More importantly, the galaxy learned what Earth truly was. Not a soft target, not a primitive world waiting to be conquered. A death world, a trap, a planet where 8 billion apex predators had been preparing for invasion since before we reached the stars. Every species had heard stories about humanity, our wars, our weapons, our capacity for violence. Now they had proof. 3 million of the galaxy's finest soldiers annihilated in 12 days. A perfect invasion plan turned into a perfect massacre. No species has attempted to invade Earth since. No species will, because they know what waits for them. 8 billion humans, armed, trained, ready. Every city a fortress, every citizen a soldier, every street a kill zone. This is our homeworld. This is where humanity was born. This is where we learned to hunt, to fight, to kill. We have been preparing to defend it for 10,000 years. Come if you want. We will bury you here. This is General Marcus Williams, signing off. Case File 444 is now closed. They invaded with 3 million soldiers. We killed them all. 12 days. Total annihilation. 0 survivors. Let that be the lesson. Earth is not a target. Earth is not a prize. Earth is a trap. And the trap is always hungry. Come if you dare. We'll be waiting. We're always waiting.